Hi guys, here's a reading for you for the full moon on the 19th of February 2019. The full moon, that is also I think a super moon, it's also called a snow moon, and it happens in Virgo in 0 degrees and 42 minutes. Here where I live, it's in the afternoon at 4 p.m, almost 5 p.m. So depending on where you live, it's gonna be sooner or later that day. As you can see, the cards are already on the table, and this is because I was doing this reading in my native language first, and I already know what's going on. I would say it's very reassuring reading, and I love it. For all of you that were kind of thinking whether your path is the right path, whether what you do is the right thing, whether it makes sense to do whatever you're doing. This reading is saying, yes, it is. It is also saying a very strong no to all of the sudden needs to change something, to make a sudden shift, to make something like, a firework, an explosion, whatever urge you have to make something spectacular that is very much different from whatever you were doing. Stop. Don't do this. Don't let yourself be lured into it, because whatever you're doing is right. And this is a very strong message here. The first thing I noticed when I saw these three cards, this is the main reading. We have Two of Pentacles, and this is of course a beautiful Druidcraft Tarot. So Two of Pentacles, Queen of Wands in the middle, and the Star. The first thing I saw here is how symmetrical it is. You can see two persons on both sides, and both are having two objects. So first we have Two of Pentacles, and she is juggling. She's very busy with whatever she's doing, and things are in the air here. I always think about the previous card. So I always look at the card in the context of the previous card and the next card. So here, first we have Ace of Pentacles, which is one pentacle. And you can put all of your attention into this one pentacle. Here you have two. So your attention is kind of divided. You need to do more than one thing in this card. And that's what she's doing. She seems quite happy with it. Look at her face. It's not very difficult here. She may be a little bored with it, but she's definitely focused on this, having the things in the air, and she's not really aware of what's happening behind her. There is a storm coming, and the ships are fighting with wind and water. And who knows what's going to happen? They may crash on the shore, and the storm may get her too. But she's not aware of this. That's why when I see this card, I always ask, check your course. Check whether the place you find yourself in is the place you wanted to be in. Because sometimes we just we get adrift by the events of life. But not this time. Not this time. I think this card is saying, okay, whatever you're doing it right. It may be boring. It may be that this is your daily routine and you doubt it. I don't know if it gets me somewhere, really. You may ask yourself these questions. You may ask yourself, what do I really want? What is that I really want? What's up with me? I don't know if you have this feeling. I have it recently. What do I really want to do? It seems that everything is okay. But there's this strange feeling lurking that, is it enough? Is it enough? And I would say that this symmetrical card says, yes, it's enough. That's precisely what you should do. Look what happens with pentacles. We have 2 of pentacles here, and they turn into 2 jugs that she's holding in her hands. So things are no longer in the air. You have control over what's yours. This is your own talent, your own destiny, your own gift to the world. This is a beautiful card that's very humble. And it says, okay, you are who you are. You have your talents, predispositions. You have some gifts to the world. And you embrace it and you give it to the world in this card. You no longer doubt whether this is right or wrong. You just do what you do. You just do what your vocational aptitude is. Okay? And what's beautiful is that you share your gifts, your talents, your true and very special attitude, your very special 1 in a million quality. You share it with the world. And you share it on both material level and spiritual level. Because you spill your waters on the earth, which is the material niveau, and to the water, which is the spiritual world that is overwhelming, sorry, not overwhelming, but encompassing everything. Piercing through everything, flowing through everything. And what happens during that full moon and the days to come after this, because the full moon is an event, a lunation that influences, I think, more than one day. I think up to these 2 weeks until the next new moon, they are influenced by these events, these energies. What you see is you recognize it, and that's beautiful. You see what you're doing for what it is. And I think you finally see and appreciate the value added by your own person to the world. I also love how this feminine persona changes posture. Look, first she's standing, then she's sitting, very self-assured, and finally she's kneeling. It's like going down, lowering yourself, but not in a way that, I'm little and not worthy. No. I am who I am, and I'm doing what I can. And I'm embracing it the way it is. And I understand that this is my place in the universe, that is given to me by the universe itself. And that is accepted by me as the universe itself, because we are the universe. You're not the tiny, well, you are a tiny speck of dust in the universe. But the most beautiful and mysterious thing is that it doesn't change the fact that you are the universe itself. This speck of dust is the universe itself. That's who you are. That's your part to be done here. And what I see here is this beautiful message that tiny as we are, strange beings, But how wonderful. Because I think we are, well, maybe not the only beings, because I don't know that much about the universe. Perhaps there are many, many different kind of beings in the universe. But we are this wonderful creature who, or by whom, the spirit works on a material level. We can turn the spiritual into material. That's what we do. And that's what you recognize here. And that's what you embrace. This beautiful call that with your tiny hands, tiny human hands, fragile as they are, you still can make the work. You can still change the world in your tiny garden, working there with humbleness. Seeing who you are. Look, I also love the transition of the background here. Look, there's a storm coming. I think many of us feel this, that there's something, that there are these messages that something terrible is happening to the world. I'm sure you are aware of this. Global warming, changes of weather, frequent storms, frequent droughts, the extinction of many species. We do this, we the people, we humanity, we do this, yes. And there are multitude of terrible things happening right now as I'm speaking. But what I think is that we are overwhelmed by this negative vision of the world and of what we do. And we tend to not see or forget to see, or being overwhelmed, we are not able to see all the goodness that is happening. And it's happening as I'm speaking. Perhaps it's not that spectacular, not that visible, but still it is here. And look at what happens with the background. We see the storm here, we see the fire here. What happens when you accept who you are and you just do what you are supposed to do? Look at the background here. It's lush, it's beautiful, it's tranquil, it's calm, it's living. That's what happens when you turn to what you can do in the world, in your own world, in your little bubble with your tiny hands. In this not spectacular way, you are changing your background, you are changing the universe by this peaceful work of yours. Recognize it. It's like, I love how she's holding this wand as if she were a witch of some kind, a magician. And from this not so very calm environment, she decides, she embraces that whatever she's doing has some great influence on the universe. And she decides, yes, that's what I do, that's who I am, and it's okay, and I embrace it, and I'm gonna do it still. So I love the message here, because it just says, you know, tiny as you are, weak as you are, weak as I am, with my tiny hands, I can still contribute to the greatest good of the universe. Just do it. Just do it. Don't doubt yourself so much. I pulled one card from Work Your Light Oracle cards. I thought it's a great moment, the full moon, when the universe is full of light. It's a great moment to use this deck. I think I'm going to use it more often now. And where is the card that I pulled? I need to find it now. So I'm gonna pause the recording for a while. That was the card that I pulled, and I was quite surprised to see no. Wait, postpone, pause, say no. But it makes so much sense when I read it in the attached book. Just listen to it. No, it's one of the first cards. Let's see. No. It's so straight. You are being called to either pause or say no. Saying yes to something that isn't in alignment with you will drain your energy and your time. Hold out for a congruent, aligned 100% yes. Often when we are looking for guidance to make a decision, it can be frustrating not to move into clear and considerate action. However, timing is everything, and not receiving clear guidance is actually guidance itself. That's why I was talking about doubts that you can have about whatever you're doing. We all go through times known as waiting periods. These times are crucial for our body to regenerate, the new path to formulate, and the universe to begin creating things on our behalf. You don't need to be plowing forward all the time to move forward. A potent, congruent yes, when the time is right, will put you ahead leaps and bounds. Don't force things now, just because it seems like the only option. Take a breather and wait. The waiting is actually very productive, for when the time for movement comes, you will be ready to dive right in. Use this time to regenerate and ponder what you truly want. Consider the options. If the options are not clear, don't fear, because this time is a gift. And I love this sentence. This time is a gift. Treat time as a gift. Use it to tend to your garden. That's what I was saying. Tend to your garden. And take a rest. To take a moment from your busy life to clear the decks and prepare for the time in the future. For come spring, clarity will bloom, and you will have the reserves, space, and the drive to say yes and act and move quickly. But for now, say no, postpone, pause, and wait. Okay? It's a very clear message, one of the strongest cards in this deck, I think. So, knowing what we know, now let's look what are the messages for the signs of zodiac. And we are starting with Pisces. Pisces, you have 8 of Wands, which is a very focused energy, focused on one point. I think things may speed up in your life. It may be a very good time to make a decision, to act, to, as I said, speed things up. But also you may have the feeling that if you were doing something and you felt that it isn't working the way you thought it's going to work, the way it was supposed to work, now it can move. Now it can really change the pace into something you were expecting, into something that you desire. So, beautiful energy of the 8 of Wands. For Aries, I have 6 of Cups, beautiful harmonious energy, watery energy, which is, I think it's funny that when you look at the chart on the day of the full moon, there's almost no planet and no aspect in air signs. Nothing in Libra, nothing in Gemini, and I think only something is in Aquarius. What is it? Lilith. Yeah, Black Moon Lilith. And that's all. and I feel it in this spread because we have no swords except one here. You have Six of Cups, which is very much about living your daily life and being happy with tiny things, and goes beautifully with this energy. Appreciate what you have. Appreciate the time that you are now. Be at emotional peace. Spend time with your family. I think for some of you it's especially towards family and children. Just be like a child. Use this time to be in the moment and appreciate the moment. Appreciate tiny little things, tiny little pleasures that life is giving to you. Taurus has a very similar energy, another Six of Pentacles. This is the card of present. I know in Rider-Waite tradition, Rider-Waite-Smith tradition, it is connected more with giving and taking, and the balance between giving and taking. And of course it is, but the implication of this is that you can use the things you have right here and right now for your success. This is the card of material success very often, so you can enjoy material success right now. You may be given something or you may give to others, but most of all, you just can use the things that you have in your vicinity. Use the energy and materials that you have in order to create a better life for yourself. So be here and now and use it. Use the time that you have. Use the materials that you have. Gemini, you have King of Pentacles, which is wonderful. Tend to your things. Tend to your garden. Tend to your kingdom. Check your... how do you say it? Something imbalances. Check your wallet. Check your bank account. Tend to it. Love it. Take care of it. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this pentacle. Look at the intensity on his face. He's very focused on money. So focus on money. Focus on material things around you. You can be very successful during this time. I also think that it's a great time to ponder on all things connected with money and your work. Are you rewarded properly? That's the feeling I have. Pay attention to this. Do you get what you think you really deserve? I don't like the notion of deserving, because we all deserve all the good in the world. And that's our inner right. That's our birthright. But I would really examine my attitude towards money and work, and how am I rewarded for this, or how do I let the universe reward me? Check it. Cancer, you have the repetition card, Queen of Wands, which is lovely because it means that you really embrace who you are and you really feel who are you becoming, and I think you love it. You might have this feeling that you are on your peak. Powers divine. Especially creative powers, self-establishing, and really knowing who you are and who you want to become, and being radiant and charismatic towards others. Because you can also, I think you can be a leader this time, and you can really show others that this attitude of accepting and embracing who you are and doing whatever you can do in order to help the world be better. Now you can really embrace this power to draw others to this notion. Okay? Leo, you have the World. That's a very serious card in this position, I think. You may have the feeling of completion together with this. that you finally realize something about yourself. You finally get to terms. Is that what you say? You finally have order in something, I think. Finally, your path makes sense. And it really makes you stronger, I think. Closing some chapter and having important thoughts on it, important reflections with this closing. It may enable you to feel stronger and enter a new phase in your life as someone really knowing who they are and what they want. So the first half is absolutely strong and reassuring, and I was wondering who's gonna be the first sign to break it, and it's Virgo. Virgo, you have 5 of Pentacles, which is, it's a difficult energy. Sometimes this is connected with everlasting love. Whatever is happening, there is love prevailing. But I think here it's more about perspective on life. What you see in this picture, you can see a bird tree, lots of snow, barren land, winter, frost, and a tiny flower growing out of the snow. And if you focus on this white plain and bird tree, you can feel the luck. And this is the philosophy of luck. But you can also turn your sight into other things. You can see this flower. You can see that there are still pentacles on the tree. So it's like some kind of resource still available, right? Yesterday I was walking in nature, and I live in a country where winters can be quite harsh. It wasn't this year, but it can be. And I noticed that the bushes and the trees, they are still full of berries, red berries for birds. So even in the end of winter, when nothing is growing for 3 or 4 months, there is still plenty. And when I see 5 pentacles, 5 golden coins, when you look at this properly, it's plenty. It's not luck, it's plenty. So it may be about changing perspective. It may be about realizing that perhaps you are cutting yourself off plenty and multitude of things and abundance. And when you look at the snow, what do you see? Do you see something that is white and cold and useless? Or perhaps you can see it as a protective layer on the ground that is enabling plants to grow when the first sun arrives. Is it useless, or is it the reservoir of water that is very important in the spring for everything to grow? So I think it's about changing perspective, Virgo. It's a good time to change perspective from lack to abundance, to see your opportunities and possibilities in the situation that may be boring or seems barren at the first time, at the first sight. Okay? Try to change perspective. 5 is always about change of direction. So you may change direction here. And the next card is 6 of Pentacles, which is plenty, right? Libra, dear Libra, I think it's a very special year for Libra. As far as I can remember my yearly reading for Libras, I recommend it. It's not easy, but it's important. And you have the shadow side, which is the devil, which is always about fear. So, again, I see this is one of the most prospective cards in tarot. Because when you embrace the energy of the shadow side, it's like you gain the second engine. If you embrace the shadow. Because in our fear, in everything that we try to avoid and not touch and push away and pretend that it doesn't exist, there's great energy there. And it's frozen there. If you put your attention on something that you fear and something that is frozen, then you may unfreeze it. And you may get access to really great reservoir of energy. So, what is that you fear here in this situation? What are you afraid of? What do you try not to see, try not to touch? My entrepreneur. If you are wondering whether you can use the tools in your own way, the answer is yes, you can. It's for one of you, I think, the message for one of you. The Tower for Scorpio. Wow. Sudden energy, Mars energy, so it's about expansion. Because Mars isn't only about, war and fighting. No, it is about expansion. And the result of expansion may be war and fighting, but it doesn't have to be. It's just making your space bigger, greater, more convenient. I often see the Tower as a prison. So it's escape from prison. So that's one thing. You may free yourself by this shift in perspective. But it can also be that it comes from outside. It is no coincidence that the crown is falling down here. It's like ego stroke by the lightning. Sometimes we need our ego to be stroked by something from the outside. Sometimes we need to be impregnated by the external thought, external force. And yes, our ego collapses, our ego crashes down. There is some kind of realization here. Especially if you are a proud person. Because when you look at the star, there's nothing about proud here. There's only humbleness. So you may be suddenly pulled into this direction of humbleness. Perhaps you're not who you think you are. Perhaps you realize suddenly that it's a little bit different than you thought. And may be painful to your ego, but it's for your greatest good, always. Sagittarius, 9 of Wands. And I love how this person is just the Queen of Wands. You can see. They are both holding the wand. They are both in red robe. And they both have fire in the background. So I think you are embracing this fiery energy here. By the way, this is your card. This is Moon in Sagittarius. So I think you realize your position very well. And you are loyal to yourself. So this full moon for you can be quite easy. I mean, you just go with the flow here. You have done much. You have achieved much. You have already 8 wands in your background. And you're ready to defend it. And you're ready to do it still. Whatever you're doing, you're ready to do it still. It's a very consistent card. And even if you're tired, even if you're wounded, I think you're okay with this and you're ready to follow. It is sometimes about, again, the peak of your performance, because it's a 9, and 9 is always about the peak performance. So you may be very creative this time. And you may finally feel the results of your previous actions, reaching this peak and creating some kind of fruit. So great energy for Sagittarius. Capricorn, you are very special. You are the owner of the only sword in the whole reading, and this is the Ace of Swords. Wonderful, victorious energy. You may have some strike of clarity and the feeling of victory, and the vision, the new vision of yourself is what I feel mostly here. The vision from high above, like this bird is flying high above the mountains. You can see yourself from a different perspective, and you can see how great it is what you're doing. And if you had doubts about your work, you have it no more. Now you know what you want, you know what you want to do. And you are strong with this sword and with your clear mind. And finally, Aquarius. Oh, it's also about clarity, I think. You have the Hermit. So, major arcana for you. It's about knowing yourself. It's about asking questions and finding answers within you, not in the external world, but in your internal world. It's about being silent and listening to what your heart is whispering. It's also about time and finding yourself in a proper time and seeing your experiences from a proper perspective that only time can give you. So there's some kind of revelation here, I think. What's funny in this card, in the Hermit card, is that many people say that he's lighting the way before him. He's using this lantern to see way before him, to see the world. It's not true. Try it. Have a lantern in the middle of the night and, put it in front of your eyes. The only thing you will see is this light. You are absolutely unable to see anything else because this light is overwhelming to your eyes. And I have this feeling that something from within you shines very brightly and you see it and you're overwhelmed, but in a very positive manner by it. That's the star. The star that you find within yourself and that you show to the world, and you show it to yourself and you appreciate it finally. So great insight for Aquarius, and a very peaceful time, I think, too. Okay, so that was your reading for the full moon for the 19th of February 2019. I wish you a wonderful time. I hope you enjoyed. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Be the master of your own life. Don't give the power to anyone or anything. You can do very much with your tiny hands. That's the main message here, and I love it. Okay, have a great time, and I see you in next readings. Until then.